same way with artists probably.
Well, and I'm going to back up because, again, when we were in the 8th grade, we had the little book covers for our books, and just about everybody, Gary, would draw and sketch and paint their book cover.
Right.
I don't think kids do that now. I don't think they do it at all. And so I'm hoping that we're not seeing that love of kids just like to draw. They did. I don't know if they still do.
Well, they do. They do if given the opportunity. And to me, what a teacher is supposed to do for anybody is, well, it's sort of like a road map. You can get to Meridian, but if you don't have a map, you may go through Memphis to get there. And it takes you a little faster. And the teachers are also mainly for inspiration. The teacher either inspires the students or they don't. And if they don't inspire them, they haven't done their job. If they do, they have done their job.
If people did not know the name Gary Walters, if they had not been so lucky or so fortunate, blessed to be taught by you, is there a work of art that they would know you by? Could you bring up some artworks that people would say, oh, yeah, I do know Gary Walters?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but it's possible.
What do you think is your most famous work?
I don't know. The act of painting is my favorite thing, and not the end product. It's the act of painting. Like the ones in the book were selected out of hundreds of paintings, and Quail Ridge Press had a lot to do with it. I had something to do with it too. But each one of these are very special to me. Not each one. Like this one is actually inspired by my daddy's nickname was Bo.
Bo's Place, right here.
And this was inspired by my daddy's camp on 6 Mile Lake north of Greenwood on Money Road, 6 Mile Lake. And so that was inspired. And the next one on the next page is Lake Washington, which is one of the beautiful Delta sunsets. But it's also, my daddy took me fishing there, and that's where Big Jim lived when I was about 9, 10 years old. I always thought, he told me stories about Big Jim, and I told them to my kids. And that's the lake that Big Jim lived in. It's a big alligator.
An alligator. Did you ever paint Big Jim?
Well, I sketched him and drew him, but we were out in the boat, and my daddy said, knocked on the boat with a paddle, and I'd already told him before we got in the boat, if Big Jim comes up, I'm going to whip him. Well, when he hit on the boat, I said, what was that? He said, that's Big Jim. I said, take me to the shore. He said, I thought you was going to whip him.
So much for that.
Oh, yeah.
At 13 before the hour of 11, Jack Criss here with you at Profiles Mississippi Radio. We are joined by Mississippi artist and the author of the new Delta Dreamin' book published by Quail Ridge Press, Mr. Gary Walters. Gary, who is your favorite artist in the history of art, and who is your favorite living Mississippi artist?
Well, in the history of art, it'd be hard to pick a favorite. It really would. There's Claude Monet and Vincent van Gogh and John Singer Sargent are three of my favorites. That'd be about three. And living Mississippi artist probably would be Sam Gore.
Mm-hmm. And now, is Mr. Gore still teaching?
Oh yeah, he teaches sculpture some. And of course, he just hung. He's the one that did my forward to the book, and he just had his sculpture unveiled down at Jackson School of Law. His new sculpture on 3 years ago he had the Moses, and then about 2 weeks ago they unveiled the Sermon on the Mount, the fulfillment of the law. And it's really good.
You're teaching at Belhaven now, are you not?
Belhaven part-time.
What is your take of the caliber of students there at Belhaven?
Well, I think they're very good students. Belhaven, as you know, is a Christian college, and one thing you don't see is a whole lot of tattoos or nose rings or people piercing their eyeballs and stuff like that. You don't see that at all. Not much smoking, and I like that. I've taught it both kind of non-Christian and people are not trying to. They love art as long as it's in tattoo form on their face or something, and I don't know about that.
That's a little sad, isn't it?
It is.
What do you tell a student who loves to draw or paint, but you look at their work and you can tell that perhaps they just don't have it in them? I mean, do you let them down easy? Do you keep encouraging them as a teacher?
Well, when you say love, if they really love to do it, they're going to improve. If they don't love to, they're not going to work on enough to improve. The Lord provides talent for everybody, but falling in love with it is something that's inside of you, just like falling in love with a girl. And if you fall in love with painting, you're not going to have to tell them to paint. You're going to have to tell them to quit painting. And so, talent, there's such a thing as talent, because if you say there isn't, then you're putting a limit on what the Lord can do. But how you develop it, it's just like shooting a basketball. Somebody shoots it 5 times, somebody shoots 5,000. Who's going to hit the net?
So you just keep trying. It's persistence.
Dr. Try and Mr. Practice is what develops artists, not just sitting there and thinking about it and talking about it. You've got to practice, practice, and practice. Now, you see baby boys and baby girls, but how many baby artists do you see? Not too many. Or baby doctors and lawyers. You have to develop your talents.
You say you love your work, and it's obvious you do. Was there ever a time when you had to walk away from it for a while to give it some perspective or distance?
Well, see, what I am is a hunger painter. A hunger painter is like if you eat a steak every day, steak becomes old. So I might not paint for a month, and then I get a hunger to paint, and then the next month I may do 60. So, if I did it 8 hours a day, it'd be like work, and art's like love and play.
How many have you done in your lifetime?
Probably between 10 and 12,000.
And where are they? Are these works just scattered? Are they in some museums?
They're in collections. I have probably 2,000 to 3,000 at my home in storage racks. Of course, some hanging on the wall. And I've thrown away a lot of paintings. If you see somebody that has never made a mistake, you see somebody who's never painted a picture.
And where do you work?
I work in my studio. I don't work outside. I used to 20, 30 years ago, but I found it was too much distraction. It's either too hot or too cold, too many bugs, too many people bugging you, and it's just. But in your studio, you can get in there and you can concentrate on the painting instead of trying to worry about what's going on around you.
One of my favorites in your book, Gary Walters' book, Delta Dreamin', is Delta Sunset Blues, and that's B.B. King.
Well, it could be B.B. King, but it could represent any blues singer.
Now, Gary, that's Lucille. That's got to be B.B.
Well, it looks like Lucille, but there's a lot of guitars that look like Lucille. That is ink, and it represents paint.
And it conveys blues to me.
Yeah,
How'd you get it to do that? That's the wonderful thing about a great artist.
Well, I did it with a brush.
You're too modest now, Gary. We want a juicy interview. We want you to give us a secret here.
Well, the secret to painting is get in there and paint, and just like driving a car. If you hadn't driven much, but now it's old hat, you just take off and start driving.
Do you still love the teaching? Do you love it as much as the actual painting itself? Or?
Well, teaching art is in a class by itself. Yeah, I still love it, but painting is a more personal thing to me because you're putting a piece of your heart into it. And that's where art comes from, the heart. And of course, you spell heart H-E-A-R-T, and the biggest part of heart is A-R-T.
That's a lesson lost maybe on some of these younger ones with the tattoos and the new forms of art, which I don't understand, and maybe I'm too old. I don't know.
Well, my daddy had a tattoo, so that made me not want one. If he hadn't had one, I might have wanted one. So.
Well, was he in the Navy or the military?
He was in the Merchant Marines, and he got drunk one night and woke up the next morning with a cowboy in his arm.